We're continuing to talk about teams that A&M is going to play here in the 2022 season. One of those is the University of Miami, a guy that I've known for a long time, Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, joining us now on the BCSI hotline. Gary, it looks very tropical where you're at. Good morning to you, sir.
That's by design, man. It is beautiful and sunny down here in South Florida, and spring practice is over, so we're just chilling.
So growing up, it was weird. As a child, I was a huge A&M and University of Miami fan. My oldest brother went to Miami. My next brother went to A&M, and I ended up going to A&M. So I got love for the university. But this year, obviously, the next couple of years, I'm hoping that you guys are very good, except when you take on Texas A&M. Tell me what kind of spring the Canes had.
I think they had a good spring, but it's interesting. They had so many guys injured, and they're so active in the transfer portal that really what we watched in spring practice will, in a very minimal way, resemble what we see in August and September. So if your question is, did we get a good read on what this Hurricane team is going to be like? No, not really. It's going to have a whole different look in the fall. They feel like they've made themselves a lot better. They've fortified the defense for sure. Going to be a lot deeper on the defensive line. So it's going to be interesting by the time they get to College Station in mid-September.
Yeah, let's talk about the biggest difference with Mario Cristobal. What is the biggest difference that you have seen with the way he runs the ship?
I mean, it's everything. I mean, it really is. I mean, this was a program that was so desperately in need of a total culture change, a total attitude adjustment. And from the second that he walked in the door, that's what he has brought to the table here at Miami. And, people ask me, when you go out to practice, what do you see that looks different? And my answer is the same, like everything. From the second you step foot out there, you feel a whole different energy. It begins when they warm up, quite frankly, at every practice. And there is more energy, juice, excitement, whatever word you want to use, in the first 5 minutes of practice now than we used to see in entire practice sessions or large segments that we were allowed to watch. And Miami is there's a lot of work to do, but they are definitely going to, I think, very quickly get back into relevance in college football.
South Florida reminds me a lot of the Houston fans and the fact that when teams are good, they're there. They're going to be there. But when they're not so good, they're not there. They got too much to do in Miami. So are people getting behind what they think the University of Miami is going to be like this year beyond the loyal base?
I think they will, yes. I think in Miami, it's fundamentally a reflection of the product that you put out on the field. And if you have a good product and you're competitive and you're playing for something, then the community is going to show up and they're going to come. And, a lot of people make a big deal about the stadium. I mean, I think back to 2017 when Miami started 10-0 under Mark Richt. And they played Notre Dame in a Saturday night game. They had game day on campus Saturday morning. They had the game at night against Notre Dame. I mean, the atmosphere could not have been better in that stadium. And I think it was proven on that night that Hard Rock Stadium can be a quality college football stadium. But it's not all going to happen all at once. I think they've made the program better here in the last 4 months or so since Mario Cristobal arrived. I don't know that they're going to contend for the national title this year, but I think you're going to see a very representative team show up. I guess it's September 17th, and I'm expecting a really good game between Miami and Texas A&M.
Talk to me about Tyler Van Dyke. What makes him so special? People have him as a potential Heisman winner because of what he showed at the end of last year.
Well, he's going to have to win in College Station to probably be a Heisman candidate, but he's elite, David. He is going to be an NFL quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And the thing that was interesting about Tyler is a year ago, he was a quiet kid. You didn't really think much about him. He was competing to be the second team quarterback with a guy by the name of Jake Garcia. And then they both platooned in a game against Central Connecticut, and Jake Garcia got hurt in that game, and it became the Tyler Van Dyke show. And from the second that happened, it was like this kid became a whole different beast. I mean, he kind of came out of his shell. He seized the moment. He's a really good kid, like a real solid. human being and has a good head on his shoulders and good character. And I think all that came into play that kind of helped him just explode as not just a person, but obviously as a football player. And if you look at the numbers that he put up the second half of last season, I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. And you look at some of the throws he makes, they are NFL throws for sure. And he's got a strong arm, and now he has a presence, and he's getting better and better all the time. And yeah, he should be one of the better quarterbacks in college football. The only qualifier, David, is I don't think they're as good as we sit here today at the receiver position as they would like to be. I think you're going to see Miami continue to mine the portal as things go forward. You get into grad transfers, things like that. They are going to continue looking for an impactful wide receiver. I think that can make Tyler Van Dyke even better than what he is already. But he's pretty darn good just the way it is right now.
Gary, I'm going to ask you about a couple guys from this area that some of our listeners and viewers may know. One is no longer there at the U, but D'Eriq King. Why did it not work out with him in Miami? Because there were some big aspirations, the kind of seasons he had at Houston. Why did it not work out in Miami?
Well, he got hurt, but I mean, I think it did work out. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, and I think the draft reflected that. But when he played, he was a great leader. He made a huge impact on the program. So I would argue it did work out. I just think there might have been an expectation that wasn't grounded on reality, for D'Eriq King.
Great answer there. I appreciate that. Gary Ferman, CaneSport.com with us. Let's talk Corey Flagg Jr., the middle linebacker, a guy that in this parts we all know, just his impact on that Miami defense.
Great kid, great attitude. He's getting every opportunity. The problem that Corey has is just his size. I mean, when he has to engage with big, 300-pound offensive linemen, he kind of gets swallowed up a little bit, and that's kind of tough when you're playing middle linebacker. And but he's going to get a chance to play a lot. I think Miami is not particularly strong at that middle linebacker position, but I think they're hoping that with the reinforcements that they're bringing in on the defensive line, that maybe they can mask a little bit of the deficiencies of Corey Flagg, and that he can have a serviceable season. But he's not a guy that's going to change the game for sure. He's just out there trying to do what he can to fulfill his role.
Gary, excuse me for checking message boards here. That's what we do with our both of our gigs. But I see some.
I could get more provocative if you want.
No. But I do see some bad blood with Miami fans and Texas A&M because of some of the high-profile guys that A&M's been able to get out of South Florida. Is that what your take is? Is that what you're seeing from your fan base?
No. I mean, they got Shamar Stewart. We'll see how that develops. As it moves forward, but. No, I don't think there's any animosity right now between Miami and Texas A&M at all. You guys got an assistant coach up there by the name of James Coley, who has been a phenomenal recruiter in South Florida for decades. Just a great dude, and he's going to win sometimes on recruits. I mean, he's really good at what he does, and I've known James for a long time, and he would be a great guy to get at Miami one day for sure, just because of the way he recruits this area. But no, I don't think the fans have any animosity towards Texas A&M at all. I actually passed through College Station last year, and I personally can attest to how nice the people are up there. And I had a chance to tour the football complex and the facilities, and you guys have a great program up there. Got to know some of your bosses a little bit as well, David, and all great people. And I don't think anyone will be coming to College Station with animosity, other than, of course, Miami fans are going to want to see their team win, and I'm sure the Miami football team is going to show up to play.
Good stuff there, Gary. Hey, let's talk a little bit about how manageable of a schedule it is for Miami. There are some publications that think that Miami can win the ACC. Is that a year too early, or do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible now. I mean, they added 11 guys in the transfer portal. I think you're going to see that number continue to grow as grad transfers become available. And they have transformed their roster here very quickly. And, it's not a Georgia, Alabama roster just yet. I mean, you got a long way to go to get to that point. But I think Clemson has taken a little bit of a step back. I don't think it's the same Clemson that we knew a couple years ago. And I think Miami will be the best team in the Coastal, and it's going to be up to Miami to take care of business in the games they play and get to Charlotte for the ACC title game. Once they get there, at that point in the season, obviously health and things like that play a big role. But I do think that they have the capability now with these reinforcements to make some noise this year. And I think that getting to Charlotte for the title game has to be the goal.
Has to be the goal for the University of Miami. Jalen Knighton, does he provide an immediate spark there at the running back? I know there's been some change there as well.
He does, but he's not the type of back that can carry a game by himself. And I think they've got a kid by the name of Trevante Citizen coming in that I think is going to be very good. He'll only be a true freshman this year, so I don't know that they'll throw, the whole thing at him all at once, but he'll help. They got a kid from Ole Miss by the name of Henry Parrish. That's a very good running back. So Jalen Knighton's not going to have to do it all himself. And it's going to be, they'll have three, maybe even four guys sharing the load at running back this year. And I think that they're all going to benefit from being fresh. They're not the biggest backs in the world. Citizen will become a bigger type back, but these, Knighton and Parrish are not the biggest backs in the world. And I think they're going to benefit from having multiple guys at the position that can go in so they don't get beat up the way Jalen Knighton, tended, I think, to get a little beat up last year.
Gary, I'll close it with this. How about some of the coordinators that have been added to this staff? There, Kevin Steele, a name that many people know, obviously, Josh Gaddis as well. What have they provided for the U?
I mean, everything. Kevin Steele is pure stability. The guy that's coached a lot of defense in college football. He's very, very good. His schemes are very, very sound. And he's got a very good coaching staff around him. I mean, this has got to be one of the best defensive staffs in the country, if not the best. You're talking about bringing in, Charlie Strong, guy that's been a head coach as long as he has and everything, to coach your linebackers. I mean, just right there. Coach Dyke came over from Georgia. He's really, really solid. Coach Joe Salavea at defensive line. They've got a lot of coaching talent around Kevin Steele, who's a top shelf guy himself. So Miami will be very well coached on the defensive side of the ball, and he's making a huge impact in that regard. Josh Gaddis is a guy that won the Broyles Award last year. He's clearly on track to be a head coach sooner rather than later. He presents like a head coach, and so you talking about coordinator hires, those are two great ones for Mario Cristobal, and the challenge will be to hold on to them long term. Probably a little better shot with Steele than Gaddis. I think Gaddis is going to be very much in demand, not because he's necessarily a better coach than Steele, but he's younger, and got the recognition of winning the Broyles Award. So, it's very solid at Miami at the coordinator spots.
Gary, we appreciate it, sir. We'll do it again as we get closer to the season, my friend.
Looking forward to it, and looking forward to coming to College Station again.
You got it, my man. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you in person soon, too. Gary Ferman there. CaneSport.com here on TexAgs Radio.